Hi guys, it's Sheila from She Makes Crochet, and in this video I'm going to show what I mean when I direct you to work a puff stitch into the front loop of the previous row. So if you watched the double crochet into the front loop of the previous row, it's basically the same idea, except the stitch that you'll be using is a puff stitch instead of a double crochet. I have my swatch here, and on this last row I just went ahead and worked into the front loop only. So now when I turn my work, I have the loops visible on the back side, or now the front side. So to work this, I'm just going to go ahead and make a couple of single crochet stitches first. Now the pattern will say to make a puff stitch into the front loop of the previous row. So the next stitch I would normally work into is right here, but we're not going to make the stitch there. Instead, we're going to jump down and catch this loop right here. So that's where I'm going to make my stitch. To make the puff stitch, you're going to yarn over, and I suggest trying to do this really loosely, like really yank up on the yarn because it's going to get tight. So yarn over, and then you're going to insert your hook into that front loop. Draw up a loop, that's one, and you're just going to repeat that for a total of 5 times. So yarn over, insert into the same loop, draw up a loop, that's 2. Repeat for 3, 4, 5. At the end of the 5th one, you should have 11 loops on your hook. So hopefully you can see there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yarn over and then pull through all of those loops, and that's the puff stitch. The final thing you need to do, and the pattern will direct you to do this, is to chain 1, and that just kind of closes it off. And then just like in the other video, this puff stitch is filling in for this next stitch here. We just made it in a different place, so we need to skip that and work our next single crochet right beside it. So when you look at it, you can see there's a skipped stitch, but that will keep your stitch count consistent. So I'm going to go ahead and work a couple more single crochets, and then now I'm going to make another puff stitch for you into the front loop of the previous row. So that's going to be right here. Just take where you would normally work the stitch and just jump down. So we're going to use this loop here. So yarn over, insert, draw up a loop. Really try to exaggerate that and make it really loose. It'll make it so much easier. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, there will be 11 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through everything, and then chain to lock it in place. And then you need to skip the very next stitch. I'm just going to work my last 2 single crochets. And then another thing I want to show you, because we made the chain stitch on top of our puff stitch, my swatch is 10 stitches across. But if I count all of my loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I now have 12 because I made 10 stitches and 2 chain 1s. So you need to remember when you go back and work your next row, you need to skip those chain 1s. So I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So I chained one, I'm going to turn. I'm just going to work into the front loop only. So I'm going to skip my turning chain and go into the front loop only, 1 single crochet, front loop only, 2 single crochets. I've arrived at my puff stitch. That very next stitch is the chain. I'm just going to skip right over it and continue on working into the front loop only. So there's 1, 2 stitches, 3, 4, 5, and I've arrived at the puff stitch again. So the first one you come to is the chain, so skip that one and just continue on. And now this ensures that I have 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The final thing to show you is you need to remember again when you turn your work and you start to work on this side. So for example, I'll single crochet 2, I'll single crochet 3, and then now if I was going to work another puff stitch, if you look at this, I have 1, 2, 3 loops, so you may want to work it in here, but just remember again that there's that chain, so you actually, the puff stitch has 2 loops, so you need to be mindful to skip the chain and the puff stitch front loop. Just kind of count them as one. Like that. And then this is what you use to get the puff stitches kind of staggered so that they kind of sit in between each other.